What are your leadership values? No, really. I want you to think about it. What do you believe? And how do those beliefs influence the decisions you make as a leader? Seriously. Oh, wait. Here's 5 seconds of dead air for you to reflect. Got your values in mind? Good. Alternately, are you realizing you need to define them more clearly? That's fine too, as long as that realization inspires you to move forward. Because as we'll discuss today, even the trickiest decisions, ones that involve seemingly no-win situations, can be simple as long as you know your values. Welcome to the Kind Leadership Challenge, where I empower educational and library leaders to heal your organizations. I'm Sarah Clark, founder of the Kind Leadership Guild. My PhD in higher ed leadership, my experience coaching, consulting, and presenting to library leaders all over the world, and a career working in academic libraries from the front desk to the dean's office has taught me that leaders don't have to be perfect to build a better world. And in this podcast, I'll teach you how to do just that. So here's the deal. Educational and library leaders like you give me 5 to 10 minutes of your Monday morning. In return, I'll share short stories and simple challenges you can implement this week to heal yourself and your school or library. No long interviews, no celebrities, no lectures, no nonsense. Each challenge is designed to coach you in the confidence, skill, and trust you need to let go of a little control. You and your team will begin growing humanely, managing effectively, and partnering collaboratively. And your school or library will build a more informed and educated world along the way. One news item before we get started. On May 30th, I will be releasing a free Kind Leadership Guild guide, Mastering Challenging Conversations. This guide's going to come in 2 versions. The free version of this guide is a set of annotated checklists that you can use to plan for, conduct, and move forward from a challenging leadership conversation. This guide will be released to all current and new email list subscribers starting on May 30th, 2022. But I'm also recording a bonus 5-part mini course that will walk you through typical case studies of difficult conversations so you can practice ahead of time. When Mastering Challenging Conversations launches, that mini course will be offered alongside the checklists as a $19 upgrade. But if you join the mailing list between now and May 30th, you'll get the checklists and the course both for free. Just head on over to the link in the show notes to get signed up. I think I may have alluded to this in the past, but the Kind Leadership Challenge isn't my only podcast. For the better part of 10 years now, I have been the co-host and co-producer of Zilch, a Monkeys podcast. It's the first and oldest, and I'm pretty sure biggest podcast out there about the Prefab Four. My history with the podcast specifically, and the Monkeys in general, has influenced my vision for the Kind Leadership Challenge and the Kind Leadership Guild in ways both obvious and subtle. That's a topic for another episode. Because today, I want to talk about a moment where kind leadership, and more importantly, my values around boundaries and burnout, influenced my hobby as a Monkeys podcaster. It all started with a surprise text from Ken Mills, the founder of the podcast and our lead producer. As far as sheer skill on the microphone and in the editing bay, Ken is the most talented podcaster I have ever worked with, bar none. Whatever you like about the production of the Kind Leadership Challenge, I learned it from Ken. Zilch would not be Zilch without Ken. But Ken also produces 3 other equally intricate music and pop culture podcasts, and co-anchors an internet radio station devoted to the Monkeys. And he works full-time as a graphic designer. And he's married with 2 stepsons. As I've said more than once on this podcast, I have a tendency to work myself into burnout, but I got nothing on Ken. In fact, in early 2018, he literally worked himself into the hospital. Now, fortunately, after that trip to the hospital, Ken made a lot of life changes on a lot of fronts and is much healthier these days, both physically and mentally. He let me and my other co-hosts take on more of the recording and production work, and the show has become much more collaborative. We found a balance that worked for all of us for several years, until one afternoon last fall, I got a text out of the blue from Ken. He wanted me to become lead producer of the show. I freaked. I'm a good editor and producer, but not a particularly fast one. A Zilch episode can easily take 8 to 12 hours for me to record, edit, and produce, with all the music clips and sound effects and different segments. I just didn't see any way that I could take on the whole load of the show without sacrificing either the Kind Leadership Guild or my rest and recovery time. And those of you who have listened to episode 0 of the Kind Leadership Challenge know I will never give up my rest and recovery time ever again. However, I didn't want Ken to burn out either, nor did I want to put the podcast at risk. We've built a community of over 10,000 fans in our Facebook group and have become quite well respected within the fandom and even within the Monkees' inner circles, a development that still leaves 10-year-old me a bit gobsmacked at times. Long story short, I'm proud of what we've built with Zilch. So I knew we needed a solution that honored both Ken's values and mine. So Ken and I got on the phone. I told him first and foremost that I didn't want him to burn out, nor did I want the show to go into a decline. But there were real boundaries to how much time and energy I could devote to the podcast. He understood and agreed and shared more about where he was coming from. We talked for a while and we decided on a new structure where the two of us would be more like co-leaders. He would still handle the big interviews with the flashy guests and most of the back of house tech stuff, whereas I would produce more of the standard show episodes and continue my role with co-moderating the Facebook group. We tried it and it worked well. Ken felt less pressured and I was able to shift things around to keep my workload manageable. We'll probably have to shift things around again as time goes on, but it'll be easier because we are both aware of and secure in our leadership values. Leadership is no more or less than making effective, humane decisions in the best interests of your organization. My 6 keys of kind leadership decision-making are all important in their own way, but presence is the first one in the list because by remaining aware of yourself, your values, and the world around you, you learn more about those values. And when you have a tricky decision to make, clearly defined values almost always make your choice obvious. So here's your challenge. Let's go back to the top of the episode. Were you able to think of some values when I asked you? Great. I'd like you to spend a half hour sometime this week free writing or chatting with somebody you trust about how those values inform your decisions as a leader, and perhaps some ways in which you want to be more consistent about applying those values to leadership decisions. And if you didn't immediately come up with a list of values, take that same blank piece of paper or computer screen and think about some of your recent leadership decisions. What values did those decisions reflect? And are those values you want to inform your practice as an educational or library leader? Come on over to the Facebook group and share your values in the episode thread. Don't worry, it's a private group, and we even have anonymous posting and commenting options if that makes you more comfortable. In the group, we'll dig deeper into this week's topic and answer any questions you may have as well. Thanks for listening and for taking action to become a kinder leader. If you found this week's episode insightful, give us a like or review, or even better, share this challenge with a colleague. Never doubt that day by day, you're building a better world, even if you can't see it yet. So until next time, stay kind now. Oh, one last thing. If you're ready to take on this week's challenge but not sure how to start,
Head over to kindleadershipchallenge.com/next to download the Next Steps checklist.